I mean, we were 2 games away, but
Yeah. Well, the story about that was, so I arrived at state the last year Norm Sloan was here, and he had won the championship in '74, and it had only been 5 years since, so we were still pretty good. That year, I think we went to the NCAA tournament and lost in the first round. We were like a 6th seed. We were, good but not great.
yeah.
And Valvano's first 2 teams his first team only went 14-13.
Wow.
But they gave a lot of very good teams fits. And we could tell he was going to be special. He just didn't quite have the talent.
Yeah.
His second year, we were pretty good and then got upset by Tennessee Chattanooga in the first round.
Oh, man.
Third year, we were, I think, 4th in the conference, like 8-6. We only had 14 conference games back then.
Yeah.
And at one point, we were only 9-7 overall. We had a very tough schedule though. We played some good teams and we beat some good teams.
Yeah.
But the last loss was here to Maryland, and we just performed miserably. I mean, we didn't even get to 60 points. We walked out of there 16-10, and I distinctly remember one of my sports brother buddies saying, "Well, goodbye NCAA tournament." Well, the next game was senior day, and we played Wake Forest. Wake Forest had beaten us by 18 points at their place, and they were about our equal as far as record. State led by 10 at the half. I think it was 56-46. In the second half, State scored 74 points.
Oh my gosh.
It ended up 130-89. I've never seen anything like it.
That is ridiculous.
I mean, one of our guys could have thrown it up granny style from midcourt and it would have gone in.
Yeah.
That was just amazing. You're probably familiar with Terry Gannon. He does golf and Olympics.
Yeah.
He played on that team.
Okay.
And he was like a howitzer. I mean, he was throwing up threes from everywhere. And so 5 days later, who would be playing the first round of the ACC tournament but Wake Forest again? We won by 1 point.
About the skin of our teeth.
Played Carolina in the second round, won in double overtime. And at the end of one of those, Sam Perkins threw up a shot that went 2/3 of the way down in the basket and came back out to leave the game tied. If he hits that shot, none of this happens.
Yeah.
Much like Mike O'Connell.
I was going to say, very similar to Michael O'Connell, yeah.
So we beat Carolina, and then we beat Virginia, who was either first or second in the country.
Yeah.
In the finals.
Ralph Sampson?
Mm-hmm. Ralph Sampson.
And earlier in the year, I think what started all of this going really was when after 7 tries, Valvano finally beat Carolina here. And that game was really special. That was the first time I was out rushing the court.
Yeah.
When we won the tournament, everybody was just getting back from spring break, and it was Sunday in the middle of the day. So we had probably 6,000 or 8,000 people all up and down Hillsborough Street.
Wow.
I wish people still cared about sports that much.
We go to the first round. We play Pepperdine, school out in California, in the same conference with Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
And we're playing them out in Oregon. And it's
so basically a home
game. The game ends about 1:30 in the morning. We go double overtime and beat them. And there were several points where Pepperdine could have won that game and should have won that game. Including, if I remember right, 2 missed free throws at the end of one of those.
Wow.
Next game, we play UNLV.
Who was also a force back then.
Yeah. Back then, they would have been like a powerhouse.
Beat them by 1 point. next game was Utah played either in Utah or one of the neighboring states. That was the only easy win.
Okay.
Yeah, we did pretty well in that one. And then we met Virginia in the game to go to the Final Four. Beat them by 1 point. And every win, the parties just got bigger and bigger and bigger. The place everybody congregated wasn't the bell tower. It was at Horn Street.
Okay.
It was at the intersection of Hillsborough
Right.
and Horn. And
Was it just like was the bell tower like not like?
it was there and all, but it just wasn't the place.
Honestly,
people
yeah,
went.
Horn Street's like the center of like where all
Yeah,
everything is.
I think it sort of is. And somebody started getting the good idea to build bonfires in the middle of that intersection. And as I say, it just got bigger and bigger. You know, we won the semifinal game, and for the finals, we had our own room back then. It was that little building near Bregal. I think they call it the Dunn Building or something like that now. It was called the Cultural Center back then. We had our own meeting room in the basement
Okay.
that held probably 60 or 70 people.
Yeah.
So for the final game, we brought a TV down there and all watched together. And this place, when it was over, this whole place just went totally stark raving bonkers.
Yeah.
I mean, they estimated about 30,000 people
In the streets?
Bonfire in the Brickyard, and then they had one over at Horn and Hillsborough. And they estimated about 30,000 people were out.
I wish I could be like. That sounds amazing.
You're
Like
2 games away from that.
I don't even know. Like I'm like I feel like the streets would have been crazy, but like not as crazy as that. Like I mean, because he even said like when they won the ACC tournament, it was like 6,000 people. I don't think we ever got to like.
I think it was close.
Wasn't that many?
The Final Four was definitely a lot. I don't know.
There was a lot with the Final
It
Four.
was.
There was a lot with the Final Four. That might have been close.
Well, the next, they were out there, and I lived right behind Chipotle in a house, boarding house right behind Chipotle. And I was so afraid. I got to the house, and I thought somebody's probably going to be prying off our front door to throw in the fire.
I was gonna say, yeah.
And there are my parents and my little brother waiting for me. And we had a great time. The next day they had a huge rally in Reynolds for the team coming back. 12,000 people. It was more than 12,000. There were 12,400 seats. There were probably 14,000 people in there.
Yeah.
I'm sure at least, yeah.
And the place was an oven, had no AC. But we loved it. Those guys came up and we had a great time. And the next several years were good.
Yeah. I mean, I bet that's like a high, like you'll never know. It's a great feeling.
Well, unfortunately, some bad times followed, and
Yeah.
I don't know what you all. Those bad times had a specific cause that a lot of you don't know about. We had kind of a perfect storm. One of the editors at the News and Observer hated college sports with a passion, and was always trying to bring it down, find something wrong, expose anything. A disgruntled former team manager who was in one of my labs went to this author named Peter Goldenbach, he's written a lot of books, mostly about baseball, and he had Peter Goldenbach come and investigate things that were going on, and there were some things going on. They were the same things that every program that wanted to be competitive had to do at the time.
Right.
We had people taking the SAT for our players. We had people taking tests for our players. We had people writing papers for our players.
Yeah.
We had, our team graduation rate was awful, just like most major colleges. And this author just exposed some things, and a book came out about it. But the real cause of it was that the powers that be in Chapel Hill saw Valvano as too great a threat to Dean Smith's supremacy.
Yeah.
So they went after us with both guns blazing. The upshot of it all was the NCAA didn't find anything all that bad.
Yeah, because they were like, everybody else is doing it.
But the UNC Board of Governors slapped sanctions on the program, and Valvano ended up getting fired.
Right, getting forced out.
The chancellor got fired. Les Robinson came in. He was an alumnus of ours, and they told him he could not recruit off campus for 2 years. His players had to meet the same admission standards as everybody else. Several other restrictions. So he had a good team with Corciani and Monroe his first year. When they left, the bottom fell out.
Yeah.
And once you fall, it's very hard to get up in this conference. And the thing that really bothers us is that all along, that wonderful public Ivy League school in Chapel Hill was doing the exact same things.
Mm-hmm.
But the local media made sure that none of that ever came to light. But the Board of Governors said if we didn't impose these sanctions, they would cut off fundings to some of our critical programs. So they blackmailed us.
Yeah.
And, that went on for several years.
Yeah.
And, Les had, his last two teams weren't bad. He was just not a very good coach, unfortunately.
I mean, like you said, like once the bottom falls out, it's hard to get back.
And the way the ACC was in the 90s.
Yeah, just ridiculous.
So basically, we did not go to the tournament between 1991 and 2002. But our fans still packed Reynolds. They supported the team.
Yeah.
They knew what we were up against.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that Les Robinson was good at was beating Carolina. He went 5-7 against them, which was about as good as anybody did.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with a team that's worse.
The problem is he would then turn around and lose to Campbell, or somebody like that. Or he'd lose by 35 points to Maryland. And they were just wildly inconsistent. Yeah. But for several years, our players had to be real students.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, over at Chapel Hill, a former TA told me once that one of their stars came to class twice the whole semester and was in his lab, came to lab once or twice, failed everything. And then on the grade report came out, oh, lo and behold, Mr. James Worthy is getting a C in this class. And, my TA buddy said, hold on a second, well, what's going on here? I said, if you want to keep your job here, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
That's the way things work.
I mean, because and both sides I kind of understand it because, basketball, especially now, even before like the NIL stuff, but like basketball and football bring in so much money that, it kind of is like your bread and butter. And for a school, like, you got to protect your players.
Yeah.
I didn't really, growing up, I'm not from North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, hearing all this is like, new news to me.
You have Rick Pitino. It's like the same stuff.
I mean, yeah, but I'm saying, like, that's a different situation, though. I'm saying, like, this is, like, North Carolina history. And like I was saying, like, when a team falls out, like, I'm a...
Well, I got another piece of information about our program. Back in the mid-'40s, our first great coach ever at Case came to